It was not until the 20s and his completion of his books, the Book of Wisdom or Folly and the Tarot of the Egyptians, the Book of Thoth, that he again wrote at length on hashish. A piece entitled De Herbo Sanctissimo Arabico, translated as The Most Holy Grass of the Arabs, appears in both these books. Again indicating the source of his inspiration in the Book of Thoth, in a paragraph directly preceding this essay there appears the name Alcofribius Nassier, which rewritten spells Francois Rabelais, an anagram used by the hemp lover Rabelais himself during his own controversial lifetime. The following piece of esoterica, which we have taken from the beginning of The Most Holy Grass of the Arabs, is steeped with occult symbolism. Recall, O my son, the fable of the Hebrews, which they brought from the city of Babylon, how Nebuchadnezzar, eating grass, as doth an ox. Now this ox is the letter Aleph, and is the Atu of Thoth, whose number is 0, and whose name is Maat, truth, or Mot, the vulture, the All-Mother, being an image of Our Lady Nut, but is also called the Fool, who is Parzival, Durain Thor, and so referreth to him that walketh in the way of the Tao. Also he is Harpocrates, the child Horus, walking upon the lion and the dragon. That is, he is in unity with his own secret nature." End quote. Here in a few brief words, Crowley gives us a taste of his knowledge and beliefs about his beloved hemp. Notably, Crowley refers to the Egyptian goddess Mat, whose devotees were reputed to have partaken of a sacramental drink that was comparable to the Indian soma. As well, Crowley begins the essay with a reference to biblical indication of hemp use by the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar, whom history has shown to have been a cannabis consumer through the Babylonian sacred rites in which all kings partook and which utilized cannabis. The beast further sees the biblical analogy to the ox in the story as being a Kabbalistic reference to the Hebrew letter Aleph, which in fact is symbolical of an ox and whose number is 0. Each of the 22 glyphs of the Hebrew alphabet has both a number and symbol attributed to it. Crowley's comment is seemingly inconsequential to the uninitiated, but to those familiar with the Kabbalah, it is loaded with implications. In Crowley's view, the number 0 symbolized, amongst other things, the number of the perfected initiate, who through rigorous work had undone his view of dualism and constructs of personality, and achieved samadhi, walking in the way of the Tao. In the tarot deck, such an individual is symbolized by the Fool, and thus the reference to the Fool in Crowley's esoteric piece of cannabis lore, and its location under the heading of the Fool in Crowley's explanation of the tarot, the Book of Thoth. Crowley further relates the cannabis initiate to Parzival, the hero who restores the Grail in the ancient Arthurian myth, a story which was also connected to cannabis in My Own Green Gold. As well, Horus, a key figure in the earlier Book of the Law and who symbolizes the same state of unitive consciousness as the Fool, is referred to again in reference to cannabis. In the Book of the Law, Horus is also represented as the figurehead of our own age, when this state of consciousness becomes widespread throughout humanity, instead of achieved by a relatively few adepts. Again, from the Book of the Law, we see cannabis in association with the Egyptian sky goddess, Nuit, who, as looked at earlier, commanded that her incense be burned in order to kindle the serpent flame. The occult essay continues on with Crowley's admission that, quote, "Yestereve came the Spirit upon me that I also should eat of the grass of the Arabians, and by virtue of the bewitchment thereof, behold, that which might be appointed for the enlightenment of mine eyes. Now then, of this may I not speak, seeing that it involveth the mystery of the transcending of time, so that in 1 hour of our terrestrial measure did I gather the harvest of an eon, and in 10 lives I could not declare it." End quote. Despite the professed inability to adequately explain the contents of his vision, Crowley goes on to describe seeing the Son of all beings surrounded by little crosses, which churn the universe into a quintessence of light. I would suggest that what Crowley is here referring to is a transformational experience which we refer to elsewhere as the vision of the star sponge, or the vision of Paquet, in which Crowley had the experience of becoming a star in the heavens, and from which he took his axiom, "Every man and woman is a star." Crowley ended the most holy grass of the Arabs with a comment that, quote, "A man must first be an initiate and established in our law before he may use this method," end quote. Crowley is here likely referring to codes of initiation, one of the occult organizations to which he belonged, and this again is also apparent by the veiled nature of his text. As well, this comment indicates Crowley's belief stated earlier that drugs alone will not enable the devotee to reach the mystical goal, but also vigorous psychological preparation and study are needed. In this last respect, I agree wholeheartedly with the beast, and think that cannabis and drugs in general as tools for exploring the mind are of far more positive cultural significance than they are as drugs used by Cheech and Chong-like stoners to meditate on Beavis and Butthead videos and computer games. Here at the dawn of the New Age, that Crowley and his like only dreamed of, as a whole new generation begins to explore the unconscious of humanity with cannabis and even more potent substances, they might do themselves well to read from the works of this turn of the 20th century pioneering psychonaut and consider some of his advice and techniques in relation to their own travels into the astral realm. But remember, as Crowley himself ended his essay on hashish, quote, "Take my word for nothing, try all things, hold fast that which is good," end quote. Either way, we can be sure that with Crowley, as it is with many modern hempsters, cannabis was a key seed and indication of the dawning of a new golden age. Boom Shiva. Hi, I'm Chris Bennett. Join me Tuesday, 7 p.m. Standard Time on the Hashish Club, Cannabis, Drugs, and the Literary Experience, as we read from the annals of psychedelic literature.
It was down in Chinatown, all the cokies laid around. Some were high and some were mighty low.